Alright, so it looks like we should be live. I will double check. It's been a while since we've done one of these. How is everybody doing? I just want to check. Alright, yeah, it looks good. So what's going on, everybody? We're actually early, too. Look at that, I'm 2 minutes early. That's freaking amazing. Typically, we're like 5 minutes late. So yeah, I think the camera angle's good. I don't think I need to adjust it. How's everybody doing? It has been probably, I think, a month. The last time I did a live stream, I think, was right before we left for Puerto Rico. So it's been quite some time. Actually, oh, I just clicked off the live stream. That's not what I wanted to do. But yeah, so we were on vacation, and I haven't I haven't been able to live stream since we got back. Where was I looking for here? That's that. This is this. Sorry, I want to double check something, make sure everything's good. So I had every intention of live streaming when we actually got back from our vacation, but the day we got back, I was extremely exhausted because we took a overnight flight, and that overnight flight was just killer. I didn't wind up getting much sleep, and it wasn't good. So we were kind of exhausted the day we got home, and then what else? Then the next Wednesday I meant to live stream, and Jake's in the chat. The next Wednesday after that I meant to live stream, but Margaret had to work overtime the night before, I think it was. She had to work from like 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. and then she had a regular shift from 7 to 3 p.m. and then so she was just not able to watch the baby when we would typically live stream, and having the baby on the live stream the whole time is quite difficult just because she's so mobile now. And then last Wednesday, kind of a similar situation. Margaret had overtime again, I believe it was, and yeah, so wasn't able to live stream either. So we're here today though, so that's always a good thing. And so I figured we'd just kind of catch up, do a couple of things. I think I'm going to give you guys a promo code here just because I promised you guys last stream that I would do a promo code, and I couldn't because we were going away on vacation, and I didn't want to bog down Jake and Ashley with a ton of orders while we were away and them only handle it by themselves. Deborah. Jake actually works for me, Deborah. It's okay. He's just trolling. He's a natural troll. He's in his habitat. What is the log? Okay, is that the login? Yeah, there we go. I'm trying to log into the site. So how's everybody doing? How's everybody's tank? I saw that tons of people love the neglected tank video, so I'm glad lots of people love that video. And I think the last one with the Crenum was doing pretty good. That was only 2 days ago, so not too bad. Let's see. Sean says, yes, I mean, anything aquatic plant related, this is your guy. Awesome. Thanks, Sean. I'm working on, I have a couple different videos. I actually did like a community poll on the main page. If you go to the homepage of the YouTube channel and then you go to community, there was a poll that I posted, and so 47% of you guys actually said you only want aquarium videos, so that's a little less than half, and then half of you guys also want to see other plant related content. So I'm gonna try and balance it. I'm going to probably throw in one houseplant video a month, so typically I only upload on Sundays and do Wednesday live streams every other Wednesday. So I think like once a month I'm going to throw in like a houseplant or a landscaping type project and see how they just go over. One of the last ones that I tried did so-so. A couple of them did so-so. One of them did really poorly. So we're just going to kind of see what happens. I do have to say a couple of the projects are actually from last year. So one of them, the landscape project, is actually one that I really want to air. But I figured now that it's pretty much springtime, and we went from... I planted the area that I want to show in, I think it was late summer, early fall. So what I want to do is I want to show from then, once we were done, and then through to the spring to show kind of what it, how it looks and whatnot, once everything comes back and starts to bloom and look really pretty. I think it would be a really cool comparison video. showcasing like landscaping projects throughout different seasons. So I think that'll be really cool. And I have a ton of houseplants, so I really want to be able to show you guys. I think everybody would really love it. So that's on my list of things to do. So I'm just gonna create a quick discount code here. It's gonna be entire order 35, and I'm gonna set the end date to let's make it Monday. Okay. So I'm gonna give you guys the code I'm back. So it's IMBACK. So I'm gonna throw that in the channel here. That's gonna give you a 15% off any order of $35 or more from now until next Monday, or the Monday the 25th. So 5 days, and give you 15% off. Check it out, and you can get that off the website. So that's that. Let's the discount code is made. It's there. Can I also do a get shareable link? Does this work? Copy link. I think this might work too. Let me see. If I type that in, I don't know if I don't know if that works. Either way, just use that code. There you go. So yeah, so the landscape project I think would be cool to showcase the before and after throughout the seasons. I also have tons of houseplants. I have like 200, maybe not 200. That's probably exaggerating. Probably about 100, close to 100 maybe, different types of houseplants. So I'd love to showcase all of them. I've only showed a couple. And then I also did 2 repotting videos that I filmed, and I think it was like maybe summer. Then I filmed another one end of fall, and I'm about to repot a bunch of more plants. So I was thinking about kind of doing a time lapse of all 3 and showing the different plant, like as the plants get bigger and bigger, because a couple of them that I planted in the summer or repotted in the summer, I need to repot again because they're already outgrowing their pots and stuff. So let's see. Jake says he's got to get the 5-finger discount tomorrow. Yeah. Jake's always stealing the plants. Nisi says hashtag houseplant tour FTW. Yeah, I think it would be really cool. I have a ton of plans. So what's up, Turtle Tech? How's it going? Or Tech Turtle? I have a terrible time keeping hen and chick succulents alive. You know, I'm actually right there with you. Hen and chicks did not do well for me. With that said, though, I have a ton of other succulents that are doing fantastic. It's just kind of one of those, like with every plant, like sometimes they're just going to do really well for you and sometimes they're not. And it's like, just focus on the ones that you can keep alive. And don't really worry about the ones that you weren't, because, you know, you may kill a plant every once in a while, but at least you'll have like 5 or 6 others that you can keep alive easily. I know I ordered some plants in the fall that I got in, and like 3 of them did terrible, but one of them's doing really well out of the batch, so I'm happy with that. And that works. And Deborah says don't overwater the hen and chicks. Yeah, I think that was my problem too. I think I overwatered them too much. I think those are one of those that really like to be dry on the dry side of like succulents. How's it going, Hazim? Tech Turtle says I killed a nacros plant this past week. No idea what I did wrong, both floating and planted. Are you using Flourish Excel? That could possibly be it. What's up, Brian P? How's it going? I see you watching. Will you have plum plants this year? If so, when? Yes. So I actually expected them to already have them. But I guess they didn't have them yet. I was told last year that they'll start having them in the beginning of March, which we're almost all the way through March, so they haven't had them yet. I do see Jake mention that we could actually order them for next week. So I think either we're going to put together an order, or if you're looking for anything specific, let us know. Like shoot us a message or email or anything like that. Because we'll be placing that order, and we're only going to have them until May. So when we get them in, it's only going to be for about a month. It'll be the whole month of April, and by May, we're not going to be stocking them anymore. It's whatever we have left over from April. Just because last year we had wound up ordering all the way through May, and it just didn't work out because we got stuck with a lot of plants on hand. because it was our first time dealing with pond season, and it seems like that the pond plants don't sell after May really. So yeah, so that's what we're doing there. So pretty much, if there's anything you're looking for specific, let us know. If not, we're gonna order the best sellers that we had last year, maybe a couple other good ones, and we'll go from there. Jennifer says they're my favorites. Yeah, the hen and chicks are nice. You just gotta give them time. That's what it is. You know, just don't water them, leave them be. And succulents, you could really just like when they start to shrivel, you know that they need water. That's the best thing. When they start looking like little raisins almost. Bryce says thanks again for the red roof floaters. You're welcome. Tech Turtle says no ferts. Well, Flourish Excel Flourish Excel isn't ferts, it's liquid CO2. So are you using anything like that, or Algae Fix or anything like that? Because that could kill Anacris also. Hassine says how to grow Bucephalandra immersed. Well, it likes very high humidity, so or at least somewhat contact with the water. So what you want to do is you want to plant them on top of something that's still like at water level, that they don't dry up. And that would be probably best. Deborah says I soak them, then dry them out. I sometimes forget them completely. They do fine. We're talking about hen and chicks. Yeah, probably hen and chicks. Yeah, you just gotta let them dry completely out, and like when you think it's time to water, wait like another couple days. I just heard about this Bucephalandra stuff. Yeah, it's a really good plant. It's super easy. We have a couple of them attached to rocks and stuff. So, what small crypts would you recommend for a nano aquarium? Well, nano aquarium of how big? School of Science, because different. I mean, we have a couple different size crypts that are smaller. We got like Crypt Parva, which is very small. Then you got like Crypt Wendiddy and stuff like that. That's slightly bigger, but could be used in a setup like that. Got some messages coming in I'm gonna have to tend to, or if Jake can handle those that are coming in. 401 Cichlid Guy. Bladder snails, any suggestions? A 10-gallon high-tech planted tank with livestock of bristlenose. Just cut down on your feeding. Snails are pretty much regulated based on the amount of food that you're giving to the tank. So if you're feeding your fish like every day, try every other day. If you're feeding them 3 times a day, try once a day, and that'll really curb their existence pretty much. But bladder snails are really good for your aquarium. Actually, they help to digest all the leftover food and make it that much easier for plants to absorb as fertilizer. So the other way is assassin snails. If you want to get something that will eat them, eventually the assassin snails will starve if there's nothing left, and they'll die off. There's a bunch of different things that you could do to kill off bladder snails. I did a video on them if you go back in the archives from like a year and a half ago. What's up, Megan? How's it going? Take Turtle says no, but I did run General Cure though through. Could that be it? I've never heard of General Cure doing anything to it. Are you adding salt to your aquarium? That could be the other thing. If you're adding salt, sometimes people overdo it with the salt, and that can kill plants. What do you think about surface skimmers in planted aquariums? If you don't have a filter that breaks the surface of the water, so like maybe you have a canister filter and your outflow is beneath the water surface, so you wind up getting that like oily film on the top. I would definitely say skimmers are good to solve that problem, but the easiest thing that you could do is just move the output of your filter up a bit more, so that way it breaks the surface of the water and then you don't have that problem. Is it just me, or is the stream a little bit pixely? I feel like it's a little bit pixely. I don't know. That's weird. I think I need a... Can I upgrade the output? Oh, you know what? I should probably upload the bit rate. Let's see if that works. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if that makes it any more clear. So I've been live streaming on Twitch for like a side gaming thing. Not really anything crazy, like I don't know, crazy active, but like once a week, either Saturday or Friday, I hop on there for a couple hours and I live stream like Apex Legends right now I'm playing. So if anybody's interested, I guess I could link it. But I've been learning some other sides of streaming from that as well. Like that's helping me improve what I should know about streaming, so it's really good. 13 gallon for those crypts. Crypt Wendiddy would be a good one. Definitely try Crypt Wendiddies. You could try, let's see, what else? Lucians, Lutea, those are all good. What's up, Scott? How's it going? Any suggestions why my Junkus Repens failed in the highlight no CO2 40 gallon tank? That's a good question. What exactly happened? Did it just all melt back? Like, what was the process? Did anything start growing new growth? What's going on learning to fish keep? How's it going? So I upped the bit rate, but I don't see that the stream got any better. No, go away. I wonder if I... Oh my god, this thing. Okay, never mind. I think highlight needs CO2. I may be wrong. Not necessarily. You could grow plants without CO2. Yeah, it's been slightly brackish setup, but Crips Anubis Java for an all doing well. I thought it was an okay plant with some salt. It really depends on the salt content. A little bit of salt, I believe anacris can be fine in, but it depends on the salinity level, really. And also, sometimes plants are just finicky, so like, you know, maybe if you acclimated it more, like maybe had it like drip acclimate with fresh water into salt water or brackish water, then it would be alright. But yeah, that's one thing. Asim says, how's your daughter doing? She's doing just great. Still not walking yet. She can, she refuses to. She wants to hold on to everything, but the kid is eating me out of house and wallet, that's for sure. Got my first tank last week, 55 planted tank, just a green floating algae bloom. Any advice? Will disappear over time? Thanks. So Ophelia, right? Is that how you say that? Ophelia? Yeah, the floating algae bloom will typically kind of like fix itself, but usually that's an indication you probably have too much light. So make sure your light's either on a timer, or if you have a really powerful light, maybe dim it if it has a dimmer on it. Yes, it melted. What are we talking about here? The repins. Yeah, but Natalie, did it all melt? Or Natalia, sorry, did it all melt at once, or did it like over time? Like how did it melt? Because that can help figure it out. Tall bushy plant for background of a 30 gallon. Bushy. Water wisteria, water sprite. Either one of those are good. Ludwigias, hygros. Those are all really good. Asim says, I have a lot of questions. I hope you don't mind. No, that's why I do these live streams. So you guys can ask whatever questions you want. And I can help answer them. Let's see. Not 100% sure. I have more low light in my tank. A lot easier for me. Jimmy G says, setting up a 29 gallon with a Fluval 3.0 next week. Should I order one of your plant packages or just order the individual plants? No CO2 to start. Well, typically the plant packages don't require CO2, so that's not going to matter either way. But it's up to you. If you want to just get a random assortment, you're not sure of what you want, do the packages. If you know specifically what plants you want, order them specifically. The thing is, like, the packages are meant for people that are relatively new. They're not quite sure what they want, so we try to give them like a mix of a couple different plants so they can get their feet wet, try different things out, see what works. You know, every plant isn't going to do well in every single aquarium, so it just really comes down to your conditions and if the plants take to them. So the packages are really just there for new people and people that don't mind, you know, that want a surprise, they want to see. Because sometimes we have like random things you may have never heard of that we throw in there, And, you know, usually turns out pretty good. The mystery packages are probably one of the best selling items on the website, just because I guess people like that mystery factor, and like they're also maybe too like, oh, I don't know if I should get this one or this one or this one. We kind of just handle all that. We'll give you a good mix of a bunch of different things. Let's see. The plant turned yellow, stopped growing, was fine during the cycling process. Turned yellow, stopped growing, was fine. I wonder if anything changed. The question is what changed with the aquarium from when you cycled it. And Jake says, or no, wait, and then Natalia, right? Natalia? I'm saying that right, I think, right? Jimmy, buy as many plants as you can. It helps with algae control. Yeah, that is completely true. I see Jake backs that up. The more plants you add to your setup, the better you'll be able to fight against algae in the startup period. That is 100% true. I've done a video on this already, but I will say it many, many, many times. People always ask, I'm cycling my tank. When should I add in plants? Add them right away. They do so much good for your aquarium. They jumpstart the cycle. They help start filtering the water. They keep it algae free relatively, and you're good to go. So I am not, if you have them, but is wait. Oh, I don't know. I think he meant, I don't know if you have them, but is Phoenix planted SE considered a highlight on max setting? That's going to depend on the size of the aquarium, Hasim. Or Hamazine. Is it Hamazine? Hamazon? Sorry, I'm terrible with names. If you buy a load of plants, just really plan it out beforehand. Yeah. And always, like, the thing is because, like, the way plants are sold, like, just in general from us or anybody really, when you get a plant, you like look at it and it's like, oh, this, and you plant it, and that only covers a little amount of space. You want to like really fill the thing up. It's better to have too many plants than not enough plants, really, because if you could completely escape your tank right out the get-go, then it's just a matter of like grooming things to fit the look that you're going for. So yeah. Bucephalandrid is very hard to get in my place, and I live in Borneo. Well, that is because it is being over-harvested and going to be extinct soon in your region. Unfortunately, due to not only the aquarium trade, which is a factor, I won't lie, it's not. It's definitely a factor to it, but the palm oil and the other plantations that they're destroying the habitat is going to make Bucephalandrid impossible to find in the wild soon. Is needle leaf Java and trident Java fern the same plant? Nope. It is way different. Trident Java fern has like a 3 thing like this. Needle leaf is just very thin leaves. Can mass yellowing of hornwort cause ammonia in my tank? I bought them in bunches and just plopped them in the tank. They started yellowing and falling apart except for the tips. Yes, pretty much any time a plant dies, like if you see a leaf yellowing or browning, as that plant is decaying, it's releasing ammonia, which then is going to, help contribute to the nitrate cycle. So if you have a lot of plants and all of a sudden they all start dying for whatever the case is, your ammonia level is going to spike. So I would advise, I would cut, leave the green part, but cut everything yellow and brown off of it. And maybe toss it. Now, some of those will still grow side shoots, so maybe not toss like the whole mass. But if you have, a pound of hornwort in there, I would get like rid of 3/4 of it and only leave a little bit left. Deborah says lack of iron maybe for the Juncus repens. That's possible. That is very possible. Hi, Diane. How's it going? Got another question from Ophelia. Let's see. Just got some crypts from you and a bit confused in if root tabs are needed right away. Sand substrate. So if you have sand substrate or gravel substrate, root tabs would be ideal right away. If you had a really good substrate like ADA aqua soil or even like Sechem fluorite or something that has the ability to hold on to nutrients, then you wouldn't need root tabs for about 3 to 6 months after you plant the plants. The reason being is whatever fertilizer you're adding to the water, if you're doing liquid fertilizer or if you're feeding your fish, the substrate is absorbing the the nutrients from the water column and then allowing the roots to absorb it. Sand and gravel have none of that ability to hold on to nutrients. They're just completely blank slates. They don't have the ability to suck it up like a sponge. Think of it like a sponge. Good substrate is like a sponge. It absorbs all those nutrients. Tech Turtle says, how close should you plant crypt parva to each other? That really depends on kind of like the size of the plant. So when we get the plant in, the crypt parva, the leaves are like this big. But when they start growing in immerse, they're going to be like, or in submerged, they're going to be like this big. So if they're really big when you plant them next to each other, you want to kind of spread them out a little bit so they're not on top of one another. However, once they fully convert, they lose all their old leaves. They're going to be super small. They're not going to be, filling in as much of an area. So I would say, you got them from us and they had their immerse grown leaves, I would say no more than 1.5 inches apart. Diane says, I did have a planted aquarium. Is that what you meant? Hey, needing a carpet like grass that doesn't need CO2. What is your suggestion? What's going on in life with pets? Well, you got pygmy chainswords. Well, it also depends on the size of the aquarium, but dwarf's heads, pygmy chainswords are both in that kind of realm. They're very grass-like. They are not like dwarf hairgrass. Dwarf hairgrass can be finicky sometimes. And microsword, I've heard a lot of people say microsword works without CO2. In my personal experience, I've never seen it do well without CO2, but tons of people that I talked to on the Facebook groups and forums all have said in the past that it's worked great without CO2. So maybe it was just me. I don't know. Anytime I kept it, I wound up getting blackbeard algae on it, like when I actually used it in an aquarium, so not entirely sure. What is the best way to split up true Pelia moss that is growing well floating? I would think just rip it up, no? Like, rip it into 2 portions. Tech Turtle says, opinion on EcoComplete. Should I add root tabs to that if I just added it? No ferts, but I have crypts. So EcoComplete, so a lot of people say it's Eco-Incomplete because it has no nutrient value. Unlike, say, ADA aqua soils, I'm actually working on a video to explain the differences between the two. But EcoComplete, think of it as just clay. It's natural clay that's been processed into like those little balls or whatever. ADA aqua soil is clay, but it's mixed with organic matter, such as just think of like dirt. It's just dirt with clay rolled into balls mixed together. So here's the difference between the two, right? EcoComplete being clay doesn't have any nutrient value all of its own. It has the ability to suck in nutrients, but doesn't have the ability to, or doesn't come with nutrients already in them. Where ADA aqua soil, when you use that, it breaks down into dust because it's organic matter that naturally breaks down over time. And that is packed full of nutrients because it has that topsoil, that dirt, the organic matter that has nutrients. But it also has a clay component, so it allows it to hold on to nutrients also. So that's why it's kind of like the top tier, best thing that you can get. But EcoComplete typically comes in a watery solution that has fertilizer added to it. However, that gets used up within a week or so of the plant. You know, if you have a really planted tank, it'll get used up within a week or so. So it's ideal to add in liquid fertilizer to those clay-based substrates like EcoComplete, and use root tabs also, because even like ADA aqua soil, over time that soil degrades and it loses its ability to not only hold on to nutrients, but it also loses its nutrient content. So you need to replenish that by using root tabs. But it doesn't make any sense to uproot, you know, or remove all the soil and replace it, because then you destroy your tank. So the easiest way to do that is to add root tabs. So that's like the condensed 1.5 minute version of the video that I'm working on. But yeah, that's That's the difference really between EcoComplete and like other stuff. But Mr. B's Fish says, "Hey there, everyone. What's on? What's going on, Mr. B's?" Root tabs. Most of them sold in my local fish store do not have a description on them, so I don't know what is the content. Yeah, those you definitely want to make sure you know what's going in there. If you can, ask them to open it up. You know, like the ones we sell are mineralized topsoil mixed with clay. It's the two fundamental things you need for good root tabs. And it's when you open it up, it looks like dirt essentially, but it's really good because it has the nutrients, it has some clay mixed in there, so it has the ability to not only hold on to it, but also contain some nutrients as well. Monte Carlo is another one, but that's not really grassy. I mean, it could be if you know, how you trim it and whatnot, but it depends on what you're looking for, Sheila, or Life with Pets. But yeah, Monte Carlo is another easier one. Would you advise clipping stem plants and replanting to propagate as soon as you get them home from the fish store, or should I let them settle at first? So what you want to do when you first get like stem plants, or really any plant, you want to trim up anything that is definitely going to die. So anything that's rotting already. Sometimes you get those stems in a bundle, and if you look at the bottoms are black. You want to trim slightly above where it's still green. So you don't want to trim just at the black part, but you want to go slightly above that because you don't want that rot spreading to the rest of the plant. Now, as far as like actually propagating them out, if they were fine and healthy, I would say no, just because the plant's are already going to be in stress going from, think of it this way, when you get it at a local fish store or you get it from us, it comes from our supplier, it goes into our aquarium, starts adjusting, right? And then we ship it out, or you go and you purchase it from your store, and then you bring it home, and then you put it in your aquarium. So now it's gone from 2 other environments into its 3rd new environment, essentially. And now it's going to try and adjust. And by you cutting it or doing anything to try and get it to propagate or grow better right out the gate, other than removing stuff that isn't going to help the plant, is not ideal, because you're just going to send it more into shock than it already is. So I always say, kind of plant your plants, let them be for at least like 2 to 3 weeks, let them adjust, because odds are if it's a stem plant, the bottoms are going to melt back usually. Sometimes all the leaves will fall off, sometimes the stem will melt, sometimes, you know, everything will go to crap on it pretty much, and you'll be left with maybe like this much of a healthy top of the plant, and that's what you want to keep. So I wouldn't go through all that. I would like let it be and do its own thing before you start doing it. Jake says also, let them settle and root in your tank before trimming. Yeah, the good tip too is let them like root. So when you see that they're rooted, then you can trim them, because now that bottom half is established. And the whole goal behind the stem plants is you want that bottom half to be established. So when you cut it, it will, you know, branch into the 2. If you saw her trimming the neglected tank video, you saw what, you know, kind of what we did. And yeah. What's up, Iron Decker? Mr. B says, 37 people watching, only 15 likes. Did you forget to like? I don't know. Did they forget to like? Let's see. Maybe a bunch of people will like it. I appreciate the plug, though. Diane says, did you say if one pet's soil doesn't need fertilizing for a few weeks? If you use a good substrate, let me just backtrack to the substrate topic. So like stuff like ADA aqua soil, or what's the other ones, like stratum, I'm trying to think, the contra soil that we sell, anything that's like the small pelletized, they look like little round balls, and when you, like, if you pick up a ball and you can squish it in your fingers and it turns to like mud almost, those typically have enough nutrients in them to sustain the tank for about 3 to 6 months, depending on the plant load and how much you use. So you don't need to add fertilizer right away. Now, adding extra fertilizer will definitely help, because after the first couple weeks, it's going to be definitely lacking some things, so adding fertilizer is going to be good. But you can go like 3 to 6 months without adding anything, as long as it's the good stuff that falls apart when you like squish it in your fingers. If it's really hard stuff that doesn't fall apart, that's usually just clay, and that has no nutrient content to it. What's up, Full Moon Aquatics? I pulled off a small I pulled off a small portion of the peely moss and placed it in another tank, and it died rather quickly. Was wondering if it's sensitive to change. Yeah, so mosses in general and peely moss, so it's like a liverwort. Those are typically sensitive to changes. We'll have sometimes a big bushel of it growing in one of the aquariums, and then all of a sudden something changed with maybe the temperature or something, and it all dies back. So that's kind of normal. A good thing to do is just like maybe drip acclimate it going into your aquarium, just so that way it adjusts to maybe the temperature or the like pH and stuff if it's any different. Do you keep African violets? Why does that sound familiar? Is that a pond plant that we typically have? I think that's a pond plant, if I remember correctly. I'm looking it up because I don't remember. I think this was a pond plant we had during the... Yeah, I think this... Was it? No, not this one. This looks a little different. I don't have any African violets that I know of. Tech Turtle says, thanks, very helpful. I bought Eco Complete thinking it was great and full of ferts. I'm learning otherwise. You're not the first to say that. Well, I have to tell you, I was running my 55-gallon, my first large aquarium with Eco Complete for like 2.5 years before I changed out. It worked fine. Just keep in mind you need root tabs. And, you know, it's not... I don't think it's a bad product. I just think that the whole thing is Substrate is so hard for people to understand and grasp. I know because it's taken me, you know, the last however long I've been doing this, 5 years, to really understand how plants utilize nutrients and all that. And I'll be honest, there's probably still stuff that I don't know. I just have done enough research to kind of know the basics. And you know, these companies don't do a good job of explaining what the differences between each product is, because you'll have people, and I'll almost argue the fact that, you know, people with these ADA aqua soil tanks and my tank with Eco Complete, I don't notice a difference because I'm just supplementing the nutrients on the one end and the other one has it, but I'm still supplementing it anyway. So I saved, you know, maybe $30 a bag because I went with the cheap Eco Complete versus the $50 bag of ADA aqua soil or whatever it is. And, you know, while, yeah, ADA aqua soil may be 10% better, let's just say, than Eco Complete, it's hardly noticeable. And it's like the same thing with all the additives that people add, especially like in the Asian part of the world, like Japan and China and all those like aquascaping gurus. You see them adding all this powder. Even I think the Green Machine, where are they out of? Netherlands, Germany, something like that. I forget. But they add all the substrate additives and, you know, all the powders and stuff. And people always ask me, what do you think about those? I'm like, honestly, I've never tried them. They may have some beneficial thing to them that make the aquarium that much better, but I just don't think that the price justifies it. I have had planted aquariums for years now, and yeah. So I don't know. Substrate to me is a difficult subject. I used fluoride in my last tank. What a mess. You can rinse it all day and it's still dirty mess. The plants like it, but it's initially awful. Well, the trick to that, Kathy, and everybody out there listening, is do not rinse the substrates. Typically, unless they say specifically to rinse the substrates, and I don't believe fluoride says to rinse it, because I used it and I was right there with you, rinsing it day after day. Typically, they come in a watery solution that helps keep dust down, and regardless of if you rinse it, you can sit there rinsing it for hours, and you still put it in your aquarium. When you fill up your aquarium, you're still going to get the film. The best thing to do is just do your water changes, you know, for the next couple of days when you put in the substrate after you fill up the aquarium to get rid of the dust. Make sure you have filter floss in your filter so that it takes out the tiny particles that'll be floating in the water. Or a surface skimmer that'll help, because I noticed with like Seachem fluoride, the red stuff, you get like a bunch of bubbles up at the top. It's like so weird. It almost reminds me of like chocolate milk, with the amount of bubbles. Like I think back to when I was a kid, you would have a cup of chocolate milk and you'd blow into it and the bubbles would like bubble up through a straw. And so yeah, so those, you know, surface skimmer, agitate the water, water changes, best way. Don't even bother washing the substrate unless it specifically says wash the substrate. Oops, Justin merely said the S word, yeah. I try not to curse on this channel. Anybody that's been watching the Twitch gaming channel lately knows that that goes right out the window when I'm gaming because I forget. Why don't you have snails in stock anymore? And Jake answers, we have bladder snails in stock. Other snails, it's been too cold to order snails. Yeah, so typically we don't want to order, well, yeah, we don't really want to order the snails during the winter because it's just tough on them. We'd lose product. I don't like killing animals. It just doesn't work out. Even shipping them to you, sometimes they don't make it. Bladder snails are one thing because those we just have a plentiful amount of. Malaysian trumpet snails will be back on the website soon. I've seen an explosion of them in the goldfish tank, so I'll be kind of harvesting some of them very soon, probably within the next week or so. So those will be on there. And as far as, what was the other thing? Bladder snails, Malaysian trumpet snails, those are what we'll have. Maybe we'll have mystery snails, maybe we'll have nerite snails, but those are the other two that we should have. But if you're looking for any particular, send us a message and we'll see if we can get any in for you. What are your thoughts on plain kitty litter? So that's the other thing. Plain kitty litter and oil dry, which is like the stuff when you have like an oil spill on, like from a car accident or something, they spread like this sandy kind of absorbent stuff. People use this stuff in aquariums, kitty litter and oil dry. The reason being is they are excellent at absorbing things. Now, from what I understand is kitty litter is some sort of mineral compound. I don't know if it's clay, but there's this thing called cation exchange or CEC value, or is it CEC? No, wait. Yeah, CEC, cation exchange capacity, I think it is. And I don't know what oil dries or kitty litters are, and that's essentially like 88 aqua soil has really good CEC value, and the other ones we're not sure about. So Alluring Beta says, hello, here for the info, supporting while eating dinner. Thanks for all you go for the fish community. You're welcome, Alluring. Thank you for checking it out and enjoy your dinner. What do you think about Flourish Excel? It's a great algicide. Other than that, not so much. Agree, just like Seachem Excel is CO2 when it's just really glycogen. Yeah. Ego Complete with root tabs is the substrate that keeps on giving. Yeah, and liquid fertilizer. Like I said, Ego Complete is has the ability to absorb fertilizer out of the water. So adding fertilizer on a weekly or a couple times a week basis is good. Flourish or Flourish Excel for floating plants like water lettuce, frog bit. Thank you. Well, Flourish Excel is not a fertilizer. Flourish Excel is a algicide and a so-called CO2 substitute, or liquid CO2. It's not. But Flourish, the regular bottle of Flourish, is good nutrients. If you also want to help support us, we have our own line of fertilizer, Vital or Vital X. It's a bit better than the Flourish brand because you have everything in one bottle versus if you wanted to equal what's in our bottle, you'd have to buy like 6 different bottles of the Flourish line. But if you have some on hand or want to support your local fish store, I'm all for that as well. Flourish was what I was using before we developed our own line of fertilizer and all that. Let's see. Question from Kathy B. What moss to recommend to attach to a bonsai tree? Well, here's my little spiel about moss. I like slow-growing moss. I like moss that doesn't grow wild. A lot of people ask, or were asking, why don't you have Java moss? And I kind of not want to have it because it's so annoying to keep in place. Jake has actually been ordering some from our supplier recently, so now we have Java moss available. Against, because he's been handling all the ordering, I haven't been, so he's ordering whatever he wants, and he's been ordering Java moss. I'm not a fan of Java moss just because it gets everywhere. It's good like if you're breeding fish, or like shrimp, by all means, it doesn't matter. You're probably not aquascaping that tank, but for aquascaping and what you're trying to do with a bonsai tree, I like Physidens, either Physidens fontanus or Physidens nobilis. Both of those grow really like short, compact. They're not going to need a whole lot of maintenance. They're pretty relentless, very hard to kill. You could also try willow moss. Willow moss is another good one. It kind of slopes down when it grows. Think of a willow tree type thing. But Physidens and Physidens nobilis, Physidens fontanus, Physidens nobilis, willow moss, all pretty good ones. You could also use Marimo moss balls. Those are great because they don't really grow that quickly. So yeah, you need a lot of them right out the get-go. But once you kind of do it, it's very easy to maintain. You don't have to do a lot of trimming because they grow so slowly. Ina from Arizona, welcome Ina. And Kathy says, "Hey, Ina from Oklahoma. Where's everybody from? Everybody, well, I know we have a couple people from out of the country. Where are you guys located?" This guy's name is funny. Liberals, I'm not going to say the rest, but liberals, interesting name you have. Can I trim my jungle val when it gets too long? Will the leaves melt after they are trimmed with scissors? So, short answer, you can do anything you want with your plants, and yes, they will eventually melt from being cut. However, they won't immediately melt. It'll probably take them a couple months to actually die off completely. But the idea of when you trim a jungle val straight across its leaf, you're damaging that leaf. Eventually, the tips are going to look weird because they're going to start to melt a little bit and like get scraggly. And you're going to have to continuously trim it down to keep it like nice and neat. The best way to do it is when you see jungle vals getting really long, a way to try and combat that, and it may be like an uphill battle, is anytime you see a really long leaf, cut it all the way down by where the root, like where the plant meets the substrate kind of thing. And then just do that for every leaf that you see getting too big. And then eventually the plant may get a hint and grow a little bit smaller. Jungle val is a very big plant, much like the crenums that I showed. So a good plant that you can use in place of that is narrow leaf sage. Contortion val also stays relatively short. And there was another one, if I can remember. I can't remember. Oh, thick leaf hairgrass is also another one. In your opinion, what is the most beneficial snail in a planted aquarium? Just curious. Definitely Malaysian trumpet snails, by far the best. Tim says, kitty litter is a diatomaceous earth. The pores in the DE trap some parasites. It has DE in it. I don't know what DE... Oh, diatomaceous earth. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, so it's probably just the... Yeah, so it's a very porous substrate. But that doesn't necessarily mean... And then this is... There's not enough research to determine... like... So, the way the plant's root attaches to, like... Okay, so think of my fist as a ball of substrate. Or better yet, think of this as the ball of substrate. Little AirPod container, right? The root... When the root of the plant grows, it eventually touches that. Now, there is some sort of chemical, biological process that happens where the root releases neutrons or electrons or some process that go to the substrate piece, and then the substrate piece, in exchange of that electron or the neutron, then releases a nutrient into the root. Now, I don't know enough behind the science of that. I'm not a biologist. I just know what I've read and how much I've studied. I don't know if the diatomaceous earth has the ability to do that exchange of ions between the root and the substrate particle. And like I said, I'm not a scientist. I just know what I've read. And studies about substrates and different things like that. So it's a very in-depth topic, and trying to figure it out without being an expert. I would love to talk to like a scientist that actually is a mineral biologist or something like that. I don't know what they would be called, but whoever is like an expert, like a really big expert on it, I'd love to like interview them and understand it more. Should I add root tabs and liquid fertilizers during the same time? You definitely can. Root tabs should be added once every 3 to 6 months because they last a long time. Liquid fertilizers should typically be added on a weekly basis, sometimes 2 to 3 times a week, depending on your plant load. I am currently using 88 Brightly series for my ferts, and it's burning my wallets. Yes, fertilizer does get expensive. That's why I like our all-in-one. But if you have a lot of aquariums, dry ferts are another good option. But if you only have 1 or 2 aquariums, the all-in-ones are pretty good. Yep, I order whatever I want, Jake says. If I can see into the future and will feel lazy on Thursday, I don't order a lot. But I'm feeling energetic. I will order a lot and spend all Justin's money. That's great. A-Rod says, how do I feel about a competitor's fish? I don't know. I don't visit their fish stores, so I will not comment on it. I live in a different part of the United States, so I don't know. And I'll be honest with you guys, I don't watch any more fish-related, aquarium-related content on YouTube. I think it's done myself, I think it's bettered my videos by not watching what everybody else is doing and just doing my own thing. And there are other YouTube channels that I watch out there. I just don't watch aquarium-related YouTubers anymore. But other channels that I watch that are in, like, say, gaming space or tech space or houseplant space, those channels are helping to influence the channel in a better way, because I'm seeing, like, little things that I like see. Oh, this person does this really cool. I want to do something like that, and I kind of do my own thing similar to the way they're doing it. So I'm trying to not watch aquarium videos because it I think it hinders me, because then I'm like, oh, that person did a video I was planning on doing, or oh, that person spoke about this. Now I'm not gonna bother doing it. If I don't know what they're doing, then it doesn't matter, and I can just do what I want. So. Some mosses don't like high light. Yeah, typically most mosses are lower light plants. There are some, though, that are very finicky. So, let's see. We got Scott from New York City, Ryan from Florida, Natalia from UK. Thank you so much. I have a big order coming from you tomorrow. Can't wait. Lots of plants I have been trying to get for a long time. Nice. Is it Zyra? Zyra, I think is how you said that. Can a marimum mossball survive being frozen in my car? Probably not. Anytime a plant gets frozen, think of it the same way we get frozen when we're outside. In a very cold climate, you get frostbite. Essentially, that's what happens to plants, except it happens much easier because they don't have the ability to regulate their temperature. And unless they're a tree, they're very, very like soft cellular, I guess. They don't have that tree trunk and bark to protect them. So most plants, if frozen, will die. So Hazim says Brunei Darusilium. I'm probably saying that completely wrong. Ontario, Canada, Newfoundland, Canada, Alberta, Tennessee, Pennsylvania. We got a lot of Canadians in the house. Let's see. Oh, tons of okay. Oh, Jennifer froze her moss ball. Sorry, that's funny. Yeah, it is funny. Montana, Jim from Montana. Can you trim giant hair grass? Ideally, you're not supposed to trim it across. You could trim the leaf all the way down at the bottom, much like Val. But giant hair grass doesn't grow nearly as tall as Val does, so it's a little more manageable. Why is Malaysian trumpet snail the best? The reason why Malaysian trumpet snail is the best is because they burrow into the substrate. So, ideally, you want to have your substrate be kind of turned over by creatures, because that's how it happens in the wild. Substrate typically doesn't stay stagnant unless it's in a very unhealthy environment, but most fish will pick at the substrate, kind of move it around, look for particles of food, and Malaysian trumpet snails do an excellent job at that because they burrow down during the day. They come up at night. They're very nocturnal species, so very rarely do you see them when the light is on. What they allow, when they burrow, they allow particles of detritus and food that is sitting on the surface of your substrate to be brought down underneath it. And what that allows it to do is start to decompose by the microorganisms that are inside of the substrate, and turn into nutrients that then gets absorbed by your substrate and then utilized your plants. So it's a symbiotic relationship having the trumpet snails in there, because they look for the food there, they poop it out, they make it into smaller, more readily available pieces for bacteria to absorb and eat and process, and they also help get it down into where the roots really are, because you don't want detritus sitting on the top of your substrate. That's not helping your plants. You want them down where the roots is. Detritus is, you know, fish poop, fish waste, leftover food, plant matter that's, you know, kind of melted and rotted away, wood, stuff like that. Natalia says, yes, Ernesto, I have in my tank. I have trimmed twice and sometimes runners. Full Moon Aquatics says special kitty can be found at Walmart is bentonite clay. Isn't DE harmful to single cell organisms? That's a good question. Don't know. The autonomous earth is sold as a bug killer. It has sharp edges. Cut the bugs in shreds. Wow, did not know that. Good thing I don't use kitty litter. That can't be good for your aquarium, by the way. How do you feel about SL aqua soil for plants? I've never used it, but if it is a clay based, that, like I said in the beginning, if you were here, if you can take the balls and smush them and they turn into almost like a mud or a like powder, they're probably a good soil. I use DE to give my chickens dust baths for mites and ticks, etc. Kills them dead. Good to know, Greg. So yeah, so DE, just in my mind, I'm thinking about this, and a lot of people don't realize this. Your soil, like a sign of a healthy soil, is that it has tons of microorganisms in it. You want little tiny worms. You want little bugs. You want these things in your soil, like microscopic or very, very tiny. Not like sometimes you'll see dragonfly larvae in aquariums. We've gotten them every once in a while. They come in on plants sometimes. Those you don't want, but really tiny ones, you know, think of like roly-poly bugs or the potato bugs, like some people call them in the wild. Like when you're, you know, in your backyard, you see the roly-poly bugs when you lift up a stone, or you see worms or ants. Like these are organisms that help to manage the soil and keep it processed and stuff like that. When you have something or you add chemicals to your aquarium that kills these microorganisms, that is like you're just decimating your whole biological ecosystem there of all these things. So ideally you don't want to use substrate that is meant to kill bugs in your substrate, because that's just counterproductive. You want your soil to be healthy and have these microorganisms that help to do things, because everything is a giant like process. You know, you feed the fish poop out the food goes down to the substrate, you get snails that turn it over, then you have bacteria and other microorganisms that process all that detritus into usable nutrients for the plants. The plants produce oxygen by using the nutrients, so and it lowers your nitrate levels, or nitrite levels, so tons of things. All right, we're almost out of time. I'm going to read the last couple messages here before we get to the end. Do remember that we do have a 15% off using the code IMBACK, IMBACK in all caps, on the website for any order over $35 or more. Feel free to use it. It's available until Monday. I will also be sending out a Facebook, Instagram, and email alert with that code just in case. But yeah. How many plants is too much plants for an aquarium? Say 20 gallon long. China, there is no such thing as too many plants, but I mean, it really depends. Like, I would say you want, you know, maybe like 5 different species of plants, but you don't want just 5 single plants. You're going to want, you know, maybe 3 of each plant, so maybe 15 plants. Think of each plant covering maybe about a 2x2 area of your aquarium. Give or take. So some plants will be bigger, some plants will be smaller. It really just depends on the size of the plant. So think of your tank as 2x2 sections. What am I going to plant here? And then, okay, one of that plant will cover 2x2. So I'm going to have 4 of those because I want to cover a 4x4 area. and that, you know, that's how I kind of think of when I'm doing an aquarium, if I'm like trying to be real specific. Bentonite, I believe it has a high CEC value. China's from Texas. What's going on? Amazon says he's learned new things today. That's awesome. Would Malaysian trumpet snails work in gravel substrate? So yes, the snails will work in any substrate, but the thing is the gravel won't absorb any of the nutrients. The detritus, while it's sitting there, will eventually like decay enough for the plants to absorb it in some way, I believe, but not like gravel substrate. It doesn't have the ability to absorb it. Why is my Rotella rundifolia not branching into two stems when I trim them? It's a good question. Is it branching anywhere? Sometimes it'll branch along the stalk somewhere. Trevor says, damn, I just bought plants from you. Hopefully I get them Friday. Trevor, if you just ordered today, it's not going to ship out until Monday because we only ship on Mondays and Wednesdays, and we already shipped all the orders for this week, so it'll go out on Monday for you. Just so you know, future information, if you order on Tuesday afternoon, like Tuesday by like 2 or 3 p.m., it'll go out. We'll pack it that night to go out Wednesday, and so that way you'll have it by Friday usually, or order it say on like Saturday, and then it ships out Monday, and you'll have it. Although all of them may look similar, sometimes they create differently. Most soils have to be fired to make balls stiff. Yeah. So all the balls that go, like all the balls of soil, they go through a process, and some processes degrade the soil worse than others. So that's why like ADA is, you know, top tier. People say it's like the best because of the way they process it. Now I don't know if that's true. I've never experimented to see. Oh, you know, this one's done this way and it, you know, doesn't retain as much nutrients. It's really impossible to tell. But I will say anything that is labeled aquarium soil or, you know, or aqua soil is probably going to be good enough. You don't need the very best to have a good aquarium. You just need something that retains nutrients. And while yes, I have tanks with sand and I have had tanks with gravel, and yes, you can grow plants in those. Ideally, you want something a bit better, but that's not to say you can't do it with sand. D kills terra firma pests by scratching the exoskeletons and dehydrating them. It may be different in an aquatic situation. Well, I do believe that it is very similar because of the, you know, all these pests, all these small insect-like or microscopic organisms. If the product is made in a way that is meant to, or is a way that it, you know, essentially slices these organisms up, it'll do the same to aquatic organisms. I have to assume because it's the same kind of thing. Although Seachem is red is marketed as a plant substrate, it's not really that amazing because it's so hard that there are barely any nutrients in it to begin with, and it's so hard for plants to absorb them. Yeah, so that's the thing. Like baking the substrates makes them so hard that it's like impossible for plants to be able to absorb anything. So it's really like the best way to put it is if they're soft and they form the powder, that's the best way to go. Like when you squish them between your fingers. If they're too hard and you can't mush them, then odds are they're just clay and they may have been fired or processed too much that they're not able to absorb stuff. Jim says, enjoy your videos and your live stream. I don't know a lot about aquarium plants. That's all right, Jim. About 5 years ago, I didn't know anything about aquarium plants either. So you're just 5 years behind me. So you'll get there soon. Just takes time. Everything's a learning experience. This whole hobby. Like there's still stuff that I know I don't know yet. So. Let's see. Very informative live stream. Thanks for sharing the knowledge. You're welcome, Rip. Do they still make those EPAC mats? Seems they've run out for a spell. Yeah, I believe they're out. I haven't ordered from that supplier in probably about 6 months, but if you're specifically looking for them, I could probably get together an order from that supplier and get some of that as well as some other things. Alright guys, I think that's doing water changes and watching some YouTube, best thing to kill some time. Definitely. True, and you learn every day. That is definitely the truth. Alright guys, I appreciate everybody hanging out. Thank you so much. As always, if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. One last time for the promo code. I'm back. IMBACK, all caps, gets you 15% off from now until Monday night of any order of $35 or more. If you have any additional questions, feel free to shoot us a message. And I think that's about it. I'm gonna go hang out with Nova before she goes to bed. Well, it's probably bedtime. She may be in bed already. But I appreciate you guys hanging out. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Not next Wednesday, but the following Wednesday. And this week we'll be back, or this Sunday I'll have another video for you guys. So I hope I hope you all enjoy the rest of your night. Take care of yourselves and your aquariums, and I will see you later.